Afternoon, Bruce. First of all, congratulations on being awarded the prestigious title of the Chairman of TSAG Communications Standardization Advisory Group. I know that you've chaired a lot of ITU groups in the past years. Can you tell us, is there any difference between this one? Is there anything that really marks TSAG out?
Well, in general terms, I would say that the advisory groups are unique insofar as the work of the sectors are concerned. I mean, they're very much different from the study groups and the working parties. And I have had the experience of chairing the radio advisory group, but it too is different in focus than the telecommunications standardization advisory group, which, as you know, has more responsibilities. It's able to do a little more between standards assemblies than the radio advisory group is able to do between their assemblies. In part because the RAG and the TDAG, for example, report directly to the director, or report through the director, whereas TSAG has a little more scope to engage in various activities, including the creation of groups.
So TSAG is a relatively influential group in guiding the work of the T sector and the standardization work of ITU.
Well, given the fact that they have quite significant participation from the private sector, from sector members, that in itself is a fairly significant difference from the other advisory groups. So I found that there was significant industry participation in the group, along with industry expectations that the group will function to reflect their interests and ensure that those interests are in turn reflected in the work of the sector as they continue towards the next assembly.
So TSAG can be a place where we see the emergence of new areas of work, new hot topics for the standardization sector of ITU.
Yes, exactly. So, for example, we discussed climate change, which is a very important topic, not just for the T sector, but also for the ITU as a whole. Emergency communications is another area, accessibility. So all of these areas are very important, and to enable the industry to give their perspective on these issues, I think is very important from a general perspective. I know that for specific aspects of climate change and the environment, for example, we do have a study group 5, to provide that opportunity to deal with the subject in detail. But given the responsibilities of TSAG to provide an overall strategic perspective to the issue, I think that's what really is the essence of the advisory group.
Okay, and one last question. What do you expect the priorities of TSAG to be in the lead up to the next World Telecommunications and Standardization Assembly in 2012?
Well, of course, the priorities of the sector, first and foremost, reflect the various activities of the study groups. And coming out of the study groups, as I mentioned before, study group 5, we have the important area of climate change. So that certainly would be a priority topic for the next assembly. We have other important issues that are being discussed either at the study group level, at the working party level, at the joint coordination activity level, at the focus group level. And all of these various topics will be discussed in more detail at that level, and I look forward in future TSAG meetings to be able to discuss them to determine the level of priority that both member states and sector members have, and then carry this work forward to the Assembly. So as I mentioned, topics such as climate change, accessibility, we created two new focus groups at TSAG this time on cloud computing and smart grid. So these, again, TSAG provided an opportunity to identify these topics and make a decision about how the work should be carried forward. But obviously, the work is very important to the industry and to member states. So it was good to have the opportunity to actually make a decision as to how this work can move forward. Yes, and another very important area is to strengthen the relationship between the T sector and the other two sectors in the General Secretariat, but also to outside organizations. I understand there is good relations, for example, with ISO and IEC, but again, we should be seeking ways and means of strengthening that relationship in the future. There are many topics of mutual concern, and I think it's very important that I2T plays a key role in that relationship. So these are areas that I think are very important to address at future TSAG meetings.